Let's pick things up there with tonight's political insider. Joining me, Dave Levinthal, senior political reporter at the Center for Public Integrity. Dave, the field of presidential hopefuls downsized by two. On the left, former Governor Martin O'Malley, he's out. On the right, former Governor Mike Huckabee. They posted pretty dismal numbers in Iowa. Who performed better than expected?
One name and one name only. Marco Rubio exceeded expectations pretty much to his wildest dreams. Rubio, if you look back a few months ago, his poll numbers were really a whole lot of nowhere, and here he finishes a very, very strong third behind Donald Trump and behind Ted Cruz, who ultimately won it. So although Cruz is leading the pack right now and is in the driver's seat, it's Marco Rubio who just behind him is really feeling like he's got a lot of momentum, not only going into New Hampshire, but some of the states beyond that, leading all the way up to his home state of Florida in the middle of March.
Now, who's on the bubble?
You got a couple of candidates on the bubble. Let's start with Ben Carson. Ben Carson just had a horrific night. He had really been banking a lot on Iowa, hoping that voters were going to come out in droves to support him. He finished fourth, which may not seem that bad, but it underperformed. It did not meet up with the expectations of what he had, and the math just doesn't add up for him in any of the following states. Again, New Hampshire and then South Carolina and Nevada. It's difficult to see where he's going to be. He even had the most bizarre press release that he released last night to say that he wasn't going to stick around in Iowa. He was going to go back home to get a fresh set of clothes. Doesn't sound like somebody who's a real winner there. Also on the bubble, too, you've got John Kasich and you've got Chris Christie, who are really kind of making their last stand in New Hampshire. They all but ceded Iowa to other candidates and are really banking on getting a big turnout in New Hampshire. Finally, Jeb Bush on the Republican side. He had a dismal finish in Iowa. He's polling fourth or fifth place in New Hampshire. If he doesn't really exceed expectations in New Hampshire, it may not be long before he's out of it, despite all the money that a supportive super PAC has raised on his behalf. Yeah,
let's analyze more of that and talk money. Bloomberg reports Jeb turned out to be such a bad investment for Goldman Sachs, it's become a company joke. Will his poor finish in Iowa finish him off financially?
It may very well. It didn't break him like it broke Mike Huckabee or Martin O'Malley. He does have a lot of money in reserve, not only a little bit in his campaign, but a whole lot in, again, this super PAC that's supporting him. But that can only take you so far. You can have all the money in the world, Morris. You can have 100 super PACs, and if you don't have a candidacy that's resonating with people, if you are not a candidate that's getting out there and connecting with people so that they go to the voting booth and vote for you, or go out to the caucus hall and caucus for you, it doesn't matter. So Jeb Bush has got to have some sort of almost miracle at this point happen for him to vault himself back into the territory of Cruz and Trump and now Rubio.
A year ago, everybody thought it was going to be Jeb. He had the most money. Statistics showed if you've got the most money going early on in one of these big races, you're going to be the nominee.
Nothing's a foregone conclusion in this race.
Nothing really is.
Nothing at all.
It's incredible. Now, Sarah Palin's endorsement of Donald Trump did not deliver the Hawkeye state. That might suggest shrinking political influence. What about her political action committee?
We had a report a couple of days ago that talked about Sarah PAC, which is her political action committee. A couple of things to take away from this. First of all, it's bringing in fewer and fewer dollars as time goes by, which indicates that her political star may have faded. And also, too, the money that she is raising, she's spending not on political candidates or conservatives, as she likes to talk about, but on things that are not supporting them so much as they're supporting Sarah Palin, luxury travel, hotels, lots and lots of consultants, too.
Wow.
So if you're a politician expecting to get a check from Sarah PAC, you might not necessarily want to hold your breath too long.
Sarah PAC packing your clothes for the next big trip, it sounds like. All right, both parties have a debate on the books before New Hampshire. The Democrats square off on Thursday, Republicans on Saturday. The process in New Hampshire is more straightforward than the cumbersome Iowa caucus. What's at stake this week?
A lot is at stake for Bernie Sanders in particular. He almost pulled off a win. You can call it a near tie with Hillary Clinton. She just eked it out, but Bernie Sanders has a heck of a lot of momentum going into New Hampshire, which is right next door to his home state of Vermont. This is a huge, huge problem for Hillary Clinton, who everyone thinks is going to still probably be the nominee at this point, or most people think is going to be the nominee at this point. But a couple of practical implications, the most notable of which is she has these outside super PACs that are sitting on millions and tens of millions of dollars of cash now, and they really don't want to spend any money fighting Bernie Sanders. They want to spend all that money on fighting a Republican nominee in the general election. So if Bernie Sanders does really well in New Hampshire and continues to gain momentum as he did in the Iowa caucus with a very, very strong finish, then it just may have to be reality that these super PACs are going to come in and burn some of their cash on Bernie Sanders.
Or will they let him burn out, because the analysts have said that once Bernie makes his way through the college towns, the liberal states, that he's not going to be a general population candidate. The free college, everything else, that's fine, but his brand of socialism isn't going to carry throughout the country.
Certainly one school of thought, but if he's able to string enough victories together, particularly in these states that don't have a winner-take-all primary, where it's a proportional win. If you win a little bit, you get a few delegates. If you win a lot, you get more delegates. You have a lot of states like that on the Democratic and the Republican side. So as a result, when you're talking about sheer delegate count and you get beyond the issue of momentum and all that kind of stuff, then this could be a close race between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton for some time to come.
It's good to get your insight. Dave Levinthal, senior political reporter at the Center for Public Integrity. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome, Morris. Thank you.